Dear friends, it is a pleasure to welcome Rabbi Irving Elson back to Emanu-El, this time in person rather than on Zoom. Rabbi Elson is a vice president of JCC Association of North America and director of JWB Jewish Chaplains Council. A U.S. Navy captain retired from, as you heard, 35 years in a military career. He is also a veteran of the Iraq and Afghanistan wars. At the time of his retirement, he was the highest-ranking Jewish chaplain in the U.S. military and a principal advisor on matters of religious accommodation. Rabbi Elson holds undergraduate degrees from Yeshiva University, and in 1982, he was commissioned an Ensign in the Naval Reserve. He earned a master's degree and rabbinic ordination from the Jewish Theological Seminary. As recently as this morning, his blog through the Chaplains Council spoke of his role as a representative of the American Jewish community in the first ever Abrahamic Traditions Interfaith Dialogue, which was held in the Kingdom of Bahrain. We are grateful to you, Rabbi Elson, for joining us this evening to honor veterans of every generation and to learn more about the important work you do for the American Jewish community. Please join me in welcoming him.
Shabbat Shalom. I can't believe that I have to follow the Chazan singing Hallelujah. That was so beautiful. What a pleasure it is to be here on this Shabbat of Veterans Day. And are there any Marine Corps veterans here? Well, today, this Shabbat also is Marine Corps Shabbat. Yesterday, we celebrated the 257th birthday of the United States Marine Corps. So what a great opportunity to be here. Let me begin. I guess Rabbi Davidson's not here, so I could do this, right? If you're a veteran, can you raise your hand? Wonderful. Well, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for everything you've done in defense of our great country. So as your rabbi said, last week I had the privilege to travel to the Kingdom of Bahrain, one of the smallest nations in the North Arabian Gulf, and I was invited to speak at the first ever Abrahamic Traditions Interfaith Dialogue. And this conference was a 2-day conference sponsored by the Kingdom of Bahrain and by the United States Fifth Fleet, and it included all sorts of different sessions on the commonalities and the differences between Christianity, Islam, and Judaism. And there was also some very robust discussions on the impact of religion on military operations in the North Arabian Gulf. The symposium actually was held on the second anniversary of the Abraham Accords, and also it was held in conjunction with the first ever visit of the Pope to the Kingdom of Bahrain. So it was a very, very interesting time, and I was very privileged to represent the American Jewish community and the American military Jewish community at this new endeavor. In one particular very poignant session, I found myself joined on the stage by the senior imam, the senior Muslim cleric for the Kingdom of Bahrain. To my left, to my right was a bishop of the African Methodist Episcopal Church, and then next to him was the chief rabbi of the Israel Navy. And you have to realize what a moment this is, not so much for the imam and not so much for the bishop, but this was the first time in the history of the Kingdom of Bahrain and the history of the United States Fifth Fleet that is stationed in Bahrain that representatives of the Israel Navy, the chief rabbi, as a matter of fact, of the Israeli Navy, was invited to this symposium. And one of the questions that was asked to each of us, the participants there, was as follows. The question was asked, what does your particular faith bring to your service members to help them in the fight? It's a great question. You know, the military gives our sailors and our Marines and our soldiers and our airmen and our Coast Guardsmen and I guess now our Space Guardians, they give them everything they need to fight. They get the guns and they get the bullets and they get airplanes and they get ships and they get everything that they need. But the question is, what does Judaism, what does our faith bring to the fight? I was actually very thankful that I was not the first to have to answer the question. The imam spoke first, and then the bishop spoke. And they spoke about things like faith and forgiveness and compassion, all important things that we bring to the fight. But I think Judaism goes a bit deeper. Let me put it a bit simpler. This summer, my wife and I had the chance to travel for the first time in my life to the beaches of Omaha. And as I got to the beach, I actually got on all fours and I was trying to feel the sand in between my fingers. And I asked myself the question, what did that young Jewish soldier carry with him from our faith as he stormed the beaches of Omaha? And I think the question can be asked over and over for all our conflicts. What did that Jewish Marine have in his heart and in his soul when he landed on Iwo Jima? And the list goes on. In the frozen fields of Korea and the jungles of Vietnam, and more recently in my wars, what did my Jewish Marines carry with them in the streets of Fallujah and in the fields of the Helmand province in Afghanistan? And so when the time came for me to answer that question, I said very proudly that there are three things that Judaism brings to our service members in the fight. Number one, Judaism gives our service members over 3,000 years of a tradition of tikkun olam. 3,000 years of tradition of us having as our mission to repair this broken world. You know, I think a lot of us may look at our nation's wars as very complex geopolitical conflicts, but our faith, the Jewish faith, teaches us that our service members, those very veterans that we celebrate today, they come as individuals to change the world. And they do it through acts of kindness. And we've all seen the pictures of that GI handing a Hershey bar to that young kid. And we've all seen the pictures of Marines and sailors and soldiers rebuilding churches and rebuilding orphanages and so on throughout the world. And I think we all saw that picture as we were withdrawing from Afghanistan of a mother holding up her baby and that young Marine reaching down and holding that baby and bringing that baby to safety in the United States. By the way, that Marine doing Tikkun Olam was a Jewish Marine from Connecticut, very active in B'nai B'rith. So our dear veterans, on this day we celebrate that Judaism and our tradition is Tikkun Olam, and that by your service you have taken us one step closer to repair this broken world. I then went on to talk about the second gift that Judaism brings to the fight, and that's the gift of ritual. You know, whatever situation, be it horrible or being happy, being tragic, or being really wonderful, Judaism has a ritual, it has a blessing, it has a simple act that we can do when there are no words. Our veterans have said Shechianu when they have set foot again on the shores of our great country after returning from war. Our veterans have said the Kaddish over fallen shipmates, be they Jewish or not. Our veterans have had Passover Sederim in towns and countries they have just liberated, where they have been able to say those Aramaic words, Halach ma'anya, this is the bread of affliction. Kol difki yeta v'yechol, let all who are hungry come and eat. And each of them have handed our food and water to those less fortunate than us. Those are our veterans. And finally, I said, our faith has given our service members the gift of tefillah, the gift of prayer. One of the things I'm most proud of in my job as director of the JWB Jewish Chaplains Council is that for 105 years, we have published a prayer book for Jewish personnel in the military. Those of us who have served remember the little green prayer books that every Jewish service member used to carry in their pocket. That is the only prayer book published in the United States that has been approved by the Orthodox, Conservative, and Reform movement. And they have done so because they recognize that the gift of prayer is perhaps one of the most important gifts that our service members bring to the fight. It's a multi-denominational prayer book that our service members carry with them in their service to our country. And today I'm so proud to say that our service members carry that same prayer book in their cargo pocket in their uniform, be they in Japan or in Germany, aboard ships at sea and aircraft overhead. Indeed, the gift of prayer is perhaps one of the greatest gifts that our faith brings to the fight. In that Siddur, they find words when they cannot find the words themselves. Our service members find words of comfort when they're distraught. Our prayers bring them words and melodies from home that warm their hearts while they fight in faraway lands. Our veterans carry with them the gift of prayer. As I said before, for over 105 years, the organization that I lead, the Jewish Chaplains Council, has been bringing these gifts to our Jewish Marines, our Jewish sailors, soldiers, airmen, Coast Guardsmen, and the new Space Force Guardians. And I'm very glad to be here because your congregation, Temple Emanu-El, has been partnering with us in supporting our service members for many years. And so before I thank our veterans, I want to thank you. Thank you so much for partnering with us as we bring these gifts to our men and women in uniform. And so today, on this Veterans Day, on this National Day of Observance where we recognize the service of the millions of men and women who have fought in defense of our country and the values that we represent, it does not escape me that I was able to travel to this very exotic country in the Middle East, the Kingdom of Bahrain, and represent our faith and our people to our former enemies and our new friends and our recent partners because of our dear veterans and our service members serving today. They defended our country, and they defend our country now. They served and they went in harm's way to protect everything that we stand for in the face of past and current oppressive regimes. On behalf of the JWB Jewish Chaplains Council, I proudly say on this day, thank you to our dear veterans, and Shabbat Shalom.